a couple of Senate bills and resolutions, some legislation coming forward, and we have the Senator and Chairman Mortimer that will be presenting on Senate Concurrent Resolution 132. Senator Mortimer, come in, and the drill is you have to introduce yourself so we remember who you are, and then the podium is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that drill. I am Senator Dean Mortimer. I represent District 30, and more importantly, I think it is I'm very happy to be here. For some reason, I feel particularly warm and grateful to be here this morning. Committee and Mr. Chairman, I'm here to present Senate Concurrent Resolution 132. And this resolution will establish a legislative interim committee. This committee would consider and recommend a process for adopting new content standards for Idaho schools. And may I emphasize new content standards. This is not a rehash, in my opinion. This is not a redo. This is an opportunity to start afresh. This process should consider the time necessary for the new content standards review and implementation. It should include the preparation of testing for the new content standards and supportive instructional materials. The interim committee would report its findings, recommendations, and any proposed legislation, if necessary, to the legislature. The question I believe that most of us would ask is why? Why a committee to establish new content standards? We know that the legislature has struggled to find common ground. We know from the many emails of the opposition to what people refer to as the Common Core standards, and most recently you should have received many emails from the Education Committee. We have in support, we have those that feel that the content standards are not where we should be. We don't have agreement. And you know, it's taken me a little while as a chairman to realize that when you can't come to some type of an agreement, you better find a way to do it. And I believe that this resolution is a way to move forward. So isn't it imperative that we work together to make every effort to make education better, to find that commonality? I, for one, can easily say yes. How do we get the current factions to work together for the benefit of our students, their parents, and the education community as a whole? I believe this resolution is the first step in making this happen. It sends a message. It basically says, we want to start fresh. The legislature needs to come together and determine a process, a timeline, and a direction for the creation and implementation of new content standards that all Idaho can get behind. The legislature needs to help bring us back to the basics and provide a new educational foundation. A foundation that will promote advanced learning, that will challenge our students and our parents. One that will encourage their participation and acceptance of their responsibilities. Many of you know, and I believe all of us are in agreement, that our parents are ultimately responsible for the education of their children. They need to be involved. They need to be responsible. They need to be taking advantage of what we're trying to provide. I believe that the legislature can make the changes necessary. I believe that we need to make the changes necessary. This task, as you guys know, is not an easy one. And it will take our best minds and efforts. It will take a considerable amount of time and funding in the long run. Is it worth it? Yes. Our children are worth it. Our teaching community is worth it. We can do it. We must do it. But we will do it the Idaho way. If we're willing to cooperate and listen to each other, I'm bringing this resolution in the spirit of compromise to improve education. I have served in the Education Committee for 14 years, both here in the House and in the Senate. I know how important education is. My mother believed in it, was an educator, was also one that taught her grandchildren and taught children until she was 88 years old. I feel that education is the center of our families, of our communities, of our state, and of course our nation. Without it, we struggle. I have developed a deep appreciation for the many educators who help us meet the challenges of educating our children. They work hard, and they deserve our cooperation and best efforts. It's my challenge. Let's start anew with the content standards and give our best efforts to them. In conclusion, I have a placard on my desk at my office that my office staff gave me a good many years ago. And I guess they gave it to me because I said it so often. And it best represents my sentiments for where I think we're heading. And it reads like this: the best way to get something done is to begin. And so with that, let's begin. Mr. Chairman, I would stand for questions.
All right.